What if I told you your financial struggles aren't random, they're programmed, and one hidden system decides everything, not based on IQ, not based on hard work, not based on connections or luck or being born into the right family, but on whether this internal mechanism is active or dormant. And here's the part that should make you sit up. You have it. You were born with it. Every single human being has this organ. But somewhere around age 7, maybe earlier, yours got switched off. Not by accident, by design. In 2019, researchers at University College London did a study that should have made headlines, but didn't. They tracked neural activity in subjects while they made financial decisions. What they found was disturbing. Wealthy individuals and struggling individuals showed completely different brain activation patterns. Not slightly different, completely different. Like they were running different operating systems. Wealthy brains light up for possibility before opportunity even appears. Struggling brains light up for danger before anything goes wrong. Same opportunity, same information. Two completely different internal responses. The researchers called it neural wealth programming. The press ignored it. The financial industry buried it. Because here's the implication. If wealth is determined by neural patterns, and neural patterns can be changed, then the entire story we've been told about money, that it's about working harder, being smarter, getting lucky, falls apart. Ancient cultures knew about this. The Egyptians encoded it in their hieroglyphics. Taoist masters trained it for decades. Kabbalistic teachers passed down its activation methods through oral tradition for centuries. The Greeks had a word for it. The yogis built entire systems around awakening it. And then somewhere along the line, that knowledge got buried, suppressed, removed from the curriculum, replaced with something far more useful to the system: compliance. Today, you're going to learn something that will change how you see money forever. This isn't about positive thinking. This isn't about vision boards or scripting or hoping harder. This is about a biological circuit inside you that determines, right now, whether wealth flows toward you or runs the other way. By the time this ends, you'll know exactly how to flip the switch yourself. Tonight, tomorrow morning, not someday, now. Because here's the truth no one wants to tell you. The wealthy are not smarter than you. They're not more deserving. They don't work harder. They simply have this mechanism running while yours sits dormant. And you're about to change that. Let me be clear about something before we go any further. When I say organ, I'm not talking about something you can find on an anatomy chart. You won't see this in a medical textbook. No surgeon has ever held it in their hands. But it's real as your heartbeat. As real as the anxiety you feel when you check your bank account. What I'm talking about is a psychobiological wealth circuit, a network of neural pathways and emotional coding that operates like a single organ with one job, determining what you allow yourself to receive. Read that again. What you allow yourself to receive. Not what you earn, not what you deserve. What you allow. Here's something that will change how you think about this forever. In 1998, a study at Harvard Medical School discovered something they weren't looking for. They were studying heart disease, tracking patients' physiological responses to various stimuli. But they noticed something strange. When patients were asked to imagine receiving large sums of money, their bodies responded in one of two ways. Some patients showed relaxation responses. Heart rate lowered, blood pressure dropped, muscles softened. Their bodies said, yes, I can hold this. Other patients showed stress responses. Heart rate spiked. Cortisol flooded their systems. Muscles tensed. Their bodies said, no, this is dangerous. The researchers followed these patients for 10 years. The ones whose bodies said yes to imagined wealth. Their actual income increased an average of 127% over the decade. The ones whose bodies said no, Their income stayed flat or declined, regardless of education, effort, or opportunity. Your body votes on your financial future before your mind even gets a say. This wealth organ controls 4 critical functions. First, risk tolerance. How much uncertainty can you sit with before your nervous system screams retreat? The average millionaire makes major decisions with about 60% of the information they'd like to have. The average person waits for 90% certainty and misses 90% of opportunities. Second, self-permission. Do you feel allowed to have more? Not logically, emotionally. When you imagine yourself wealthy, does your body relax or tighten? Does it feel like home or like trespassing? Studies show that 73% of people experience physical discomfort when asked to visualize themselves wealthy. Their body literally rejects the image. Third, decisiveness. How quickly can you act on opportunity? Researchers at MIT found that wealthy individuals make financial decisions 4.7 times faster than middle-income individuals. Not because they're smarter. Fourth, expectation of return. This is the big one. When you put energy out into the world, whether that's money, effort, time, or trust, do you expect it to come back multiplied, or do you brace for loss? Brain scans show that wealthy individuals show dopamine activation when they spend money. They expect return. Others show cortisol activation. They expect loss. Same action, opposite neurochemistry. These 4 functions operate together like a single system, like an organ. And right now, yours is probably running at about 15% capacity, maybe less. Let me tell you something about John D. Rockefeller that was never in your history books. Rockefeller kept detailed journals his entire life. After his death, researchers analyzed them looking for patterns. What they found wasn't about strategy or connections or market timing. It was about internal state. Rockefeller had a practice he did every morning. He called it assuming the feeling of wealth. Before he made a single business decision, before he read any financial report, he would spend 15 minutes feeling wealthy. Not thinking about wealth, feeling it, in his body, in his nervous system. He wrote in 1903, "I do not pursue money, I make myself into the kind of man that money pursues. This is a practice of the nerves, not of the mind." A practice of the nerves. In 1903, Rockefeller understood what neuroscience wouldn't confirm for another 100 years. Your nervous system determines your financial ceiling. Andrew Carnegie had a similar practice. He called it mental rehearsal of success. Every morning, he would imagine his current ventures succeeding, feel the feeling of that success, and only then begin his day. These men weren't positive thinkers. They were nervous system trainers. They understood the organ. They knew how to activate it. And here's what's wild. They rarely talked about it publicly. When asked about their success, they gave the standard answers: hard work, good timing, calculated risk. The real mechanism, the internal technology, they kept private. Why? Because if everyone knew how to activate it, the game would change entirely. Now let's talk about why your switch is off in the first place. Because it didn't happen by accident. You walked into school as a child with this mechanism intact. Kids are natural receivers. Watch a 3-year-old. They don't hesitate to ask for what they want. They don't feel guilty about having. They don't apologize for existing. They reach for things. They expect the world to respond. That's the wealth organ operating at full capacity. And then education happened. Here's something that should make you angry. In 1906, Woodrow Wilson, then president of Princeton, gave a speech to the New York City School Teachers Association. The speech was called "The Meaning of a Liberal Education." In it, he said this: "We want one class of persons to have a liberal education, and we want another class of persons, a very much larger class of necessity, to forgo the privileges of a liberal education and fit themselves to perform specific difficult manual tasks." Hear that again. The future president of the United States, one of the architects of modern education, openly stated that the system was designed to create two classes: thinkers and workers. And the workers, the much larger class, were specifically meant to be trained for compliance, not creation. This wasn't a conspiracy. This was policy. And it worked exactly as intended. The modern education system was built during the Industrial Revolution. Factory owners needed a specific type of person, someone who could follow instructions, tolerate repetition, suppress their own desires for 8 to 12 hours a day, and accept delayed gratification that often never came. So they built schools that trained exactly that. What did they reward? Obedience, sitting still, waiting for permission, following rules, memorizing what authorities told you was true. What did they punish? Initiative, questioning, moving before you were told to move, trusting your own judgment over the teachers. Look at the structure. You sit in rows. You raise your hand to speak. You wait to be called on. You're told when to eat, when to play, when to learn, when to stop. You're graded on compliance. And every single day, that structure sends one message to your wealth organ. You are not allowed to act until someone gives you permission. Here's the part that will really cook your brain. In 1971, a psychologist named Philip Zimbardo conducted the Stanford prison experiment. You've probably heard of it. But here's what most people miss about its implications. Within 24 hours of being assigned roles, guards became authoritarian and prisoners became submissive. Not because of personality, because of structure. The environment they were placed in literally rewired their behavior, their identity, their sense of what was possible for them. You were placed in an environment called school for 12,000 plus hours of your most neurologically plastic years. You were assigned a role, student, which meant wait for instruction, seek approval, fear punishment, suppress initiative. What do you think that did to your wealth organ? It didn't just teach you information. It rewired your fundamental relationship with receiving, risk, and self-permission. By the time you graduate, that message is hardwired. It's not a thought anymore. It's a reflex. It's encoded in your nervous system as surely as flinching from a hot stove. Here's what they should have taught you but never did. The wealthy don't wait for permission. Their internal system grants it automatically. The wealthy tolerate uncertainty. Their nervous system doesn't flood with terror when they don't know exactly what will happen. The wealthy expect a return. When they spend money, give energy, or take risk, their body expects multiplication, not loss. None of this was in your curriculum. None of this was on the test. None of this was rewarded. Instead, you were trained to work for certainty instead of creating through uncertainty. Seek safety instead of building capacity for risk. Please authorities instead of trusting yourself. And here's the crazy part. The children of the wealthy, they weren't in those schools. They were in different schools with different structures, smaller classes, more autonomy. Emphasis on leadership, initiative, and independent thinking. The wealthy train their children's wealth organs from birth. You were trained for the factory floor. Different education, different nervous system, different financial ceiling. And now you're 35, 45, 55, even 65 years old, wondering why your relationship with money feels like a fight instead of a flow. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility, because the switch can be flipped, the organ can be reactivated, and no one is coming to do it for you. Let me tell you about something called the lottery curse and why it proves everything I'm saying. You've heard the statistics. 70% of lottery winners go broke within 5 years. Many end up worse off than before they won. Some lose their families, their health, their lives. But here's the part nobody talks about. It's not the money that destroys them. It's the gap between their external reality and their internal capacity. See, when someone wins the lottery, their bank account changes instantly. But their wealth organ doesn't. Their nervous system is still calibrated for struggle. Their self-permission level is still set to just enough to survive. So, what happens? Their internal system, which believes at the deepest level that they're not safe to hold wealth, begins a systematic process of rejection. They overspend not from greed, but from discomfort. The money feels wrong. They need to get rid of it. They trust the wrong people because they don't trust themselves to make decisions. They feel guilty, so they give it away to anyone who asks. They sabotage because on the deepest level their identity is struggling person, and having money doesn't match that identity. The money didn't change them. It revealed them. It exposed the gap between what they had and what they could hold. Now, here's the flip side. Studies of self-made millionaires show the opposite pattern. They build wealth slowly because their internal capacity expands in pace with their external resources. By the time they have millions, their nervous system can hold millions. There's no gap, no rejection, no sabotage. This is why get rich quick rarely works, and get rich gradually usually does. It's not about the speed of the money, it's about the expansion of the organ. And here's the insight that changes everything. You can expand your internal capacity before the money arrives. You can train your nervous system to hold wealth before you have wealth. The wealthy do this instinctively. They assume the feeling of wealth, as Rockefeller called it. They expand their container before the contents show up. And when the contents arrive, there's room. The system says yes, the money stays. Let me tell you about Paul. Paul is 58, worked in logistics for 31 years. He's not lazy, he's not stupid. He's been the guy who shows up early and stays late. The guy who covered other people's shifts. The guy who never complained, never asked for more than he was given, never made waves. And he's broke. Not starving broke, but the kind of broke where you're always calculating. The kind where unexpected expenses feel like punches to the gut. The kind where retirement feels like a cliff you're walking toward instead of a horizon you're moving into. Paul doesn't understand it. He did everything right. He followed the rules. He worked hard. He saved when he could. He didn't take big risks. He was responsible. And yet, here's what Paul doesn't know. His wealth organ was deactivated decades ago, not by a single event, but by 1,000 small ones. When he was 9, he asked his father for a toy, and his father said, "Money doesn't come easy. You'll learn that someday." That landed in his nervous system, not as words, as code, as programming. When he was 12, his mother stressed about bills within earshot, and he absorbed the signal. Money is danger. Money is scarcity. Having it means losing it. When he was 16, he wanted to start a small business selling baseball cards, and his uncle laughed and said, "That's not how the real world works. Get a job." His initiative was punished. His wealth organ learned, "Don't try." When he was 23, he got a small raise at his first real job, and immediately felt guilty, like he'd gotten away with something, like he didn't deserve it, like something would come and take it back. Every single one of those moments was a signal to his internal system. Shut down. Don't receive. Don't expect. Don't allow. And Paul has been living inside that shutdown system ever since, working hard inside a container that can't expand. Here's the brutal truth. Paul could work twice as hard and still not get ahead. Because the problem was never effort. The problem is capacity. His internal container for wealth has stayed the same size for 40 years. The wealthy don't have bigger paychecks because they work harder. They have bigger paychecks because their internal container can hold more. Their wealth organ is online, expanding, allowing. Paul's container is locked at exactly enough to survive. And survival is what he keeps getting. Maybe you recognize Paul. Maybe you are Paul. Maybe you've lived this exact pattern and never had words for it. Now you do. Let me explain exactly how this mechanism works. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And what you can see, you can change. The wealth organ operates through what I call the expectation permission reality loop. Here's the sequence. Step 1. Emotional state. Before anything happens externally, something happens internally. You feel something. Safe or unsafe. Expansive or contracted. Open or closed. This emotional state is broadcasting constantly like a radio signal. Step 2. Expectation field. Your emotional state creates an expectation field. This is the range of outcomes your nervous system considers possible. If you're in fear, your expectation field narrows. Only survival outcomes seem realistic. If you're in openness, your expectation field expands. Opportunities become visible that fear couldn't see. Step 3. Decision behavior. Based on your expectation field, you make decisions. If the field is narrow, you hesitate, avoid, play small. If the field is expanded, you act, reach, move toward. Step 4. Reality result. Your decisions create results, and those results appear to confirm whatever you already believed, which reinforces the original emotional state. This is the loop, and it runs constantly whether you're aware of it or not. Here's something that will blow your mind. In 2012, researchers at Yale conducted a study where they showed participants identical business opportunities. Same numbers, same risk profile, same potential return. But before showing them the opportunity, they primed one group with feelings of abundance, using visualization and physical exercises. They primed the other group with feelings of scarcity, using stress-inducing scenarios. The abundance group saw opportunity 64% of the time. The scarcity group saw opportunity only 23% of the time. Same opportunity, completely different perception, based solely on emotional state. The scarcity group wasn't being cautious. They literally couldn't see the opportunity. Their narrowed expectation field filtered it out. Their nervous system said threat, and their brain deleted the possibility. This is why two people can look at the same investment, the same business, the same market, and see completely different things. They're not looking with their eyes. They're looking with their nervous system. And their nervous system is filtering reality based on their internal state. The wealthy aren't optimists. They're not seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. Their nervous systems are calibrated for opportunity instead of threat. They literally perceive a different reality. And the wildest part? This calibration is trainable. You can change what you see by changing what you feel. Let me make this even more concrete. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's basically a filter that determines what gets through to your conscious awareness and what gets deleted. Here's how it works. Have you ever bought a new car and then suddenly seen that car everywhere? The cars were always there. Your RAS just started letting them through because you marked them as important. Your wealth organ programs your RAS. If your organ is set to scarcity, your RAS filters out opportunity and highlights threat. You see expenses, risks, problems. If your organ is set to abundance, your RAS filters for opportunity and minimizes threat. You see investments, possibilities, solutions. Same world, different filter, different life. And here's what the wealthy understand that you were never taught. You can consciously reprogram your RAS by retraining your emotional baseline. Change the filter. Change what you see. Change what you see. Change what you do. Change what you do. Change your results. Here's something almost nobody in the West knows about. In Japan, there's a practice called kanemochi no kokyu, which translates roughly to the breathing of the wealthy. It's been passed down through merchant families for over 400 years. The practice is simple but profound. Before any financial decision, before any negotiation, before any investment, these merchant families would do a specific breathing pattern designed to shift their nervous system into what they called the receiving state. The breathing pattern activates the vagus nerve, which regulates the parasympathetic nervous system. It literally shifts the body from threat response to openness response. from survival mode to receiving mode. Western researchers discovered this in 2008 when studying why certain Japanese business families maintained wealth across 15+ generations, while Western families typically lost it within 3. The answer wasn't strategy or discipline. It was a nervous system regulation passed down as family ritual. These families were training their children's wealth organs from birth. The breathing practice was taught as soon as kids could follow instructions. By adulthood, their nervous systems were permanently calibrated for wealth reception. Meanwhile, in the West, we were teaching our children to fear money, stress about scarcity, and distrust their own judgment. Different training, different nervous systems, different financial ceiling. The good news? The practice works at any age. Neuroplasticity doesn't expire. Your nervous system can be retrained at 25, 45, 65, or 85. The Japanese merchant families proved the method. Western neuroscience confirmed the mechanism. All that's left is for you to apply it. Before I show you how to flip the switch, you need to know where you currently stand, because you can't fix what you won't face. Here are the signs your wealth organ is dormant. Sign 1. You hesitate on opportunities. When something good shows up, your first response is doubt instead of curiosity. You ask what could go wrong instead of what could go right. You wait for more information until the window closes. Here's a test. Think about the last significant opportunity you passed on. How long did you deliberate? If it was more than 72 hours, your wealth organ was applying the brakes. Wealthy individuals report making major decisions in under 48 hours, often under 24. Their system says yes or no quickly. Yours says wait, which usually means no. Sign 2. You feel guilt around money. When you spend on yourself, there's a tightness. When you think about having more than others, there's discomfort. When you receive gifts or unexpected money, you immediately think about how to get rid of it or who else needs it more. A study at Northwestern University found that 68% of middle-income individuals reported guilt when making purchases over $200 for themselves. Only 12% of wealthy individuals reported the same guilt. The wealthy don't feel guilty about receiving because their internal system says they're allowed. Your system is saying you're stealing. Sign 3. You subconsciously cap your goals. When you think about how much you could make, there's a ceiling. Maybe it's 6 figures. Maybe it's a specific number. But there's a line, and past that line feels unrealistic, dangerous, or not for people like you. Here's something spooky. Researchers found that people's actual income tends to hover within 15% of their imagined ceiling, regardless of opportunity. Your subconscious won't let you exceed what it believes you're allowed to have. If your ceiling is set at $60,000, you'll sabotage anything that might take you to $80,000. Your organ is enforcing a boundary you didn't consciously set. Sign 4. You overthink purchases and investments, even small ones. The mental energy you spend calculating, worrying, second-guessing far exceeds the actual stakes. 20 minutes debating a $50 purchase. That's not wisdom. That's a nervous system in scarcity mode. Wealthy individuals report spending about 90 seconds on purchasing decisions under $500. They decide, they act, they move on. Their nervous system isn't treating every expense as a survival threat. Yours is. Sign 5. Your body tightens when you think about money, not just stress. Actual physical contraction. Shoulders rise, jaw clenches, breathing shallows. This isn't happening in your mind, it's happening in your nervous system. And your nervous system is running the show. Try this right now. Think about your bank account. Notice what happens in your body. Do your shoulders lift? Does your stomach clench? Does your breathing change? That's your wealth organ broadcasting danger. Every time you feel that, you're reinforcing the pattern. Sign 6. You talk yourself out of raises, charges, and opportunities. You have conversations in your head where you convince yourself it's not the right time, you're not ready, people won't pay that, the economy is bad. You rehearse rejection before it happens and use that rehearsal as evidence. This is your wealth organ trying to protect you from disappointment by guaranteeing failure in advance. It learned this was safer than risking rejection, but safety has become your cage. Sign 7. You feel like money is happening to you instead of through you, like you're at the mercy of circumstance, like wealth is something outside that either arrives or doesn't, and you have no control over which. If you recognize 3 or more of these signs, your wealth organ is significantly offline. And here's what I need you to understand. These aren't character flaws. They're not evidence that you're bad with money or that you don't deserve more. They're regulation failures. Your internal system is stuck in a survival pattern that was installed decades ago, and it's been running the same outdated program ever since. The program served you once. When you were a child in an unpredictable environment, that program kept you safe. It taught you to be small, to not expect too much, to avoid risk, to stay under the radar. But you're not a child anymore. The threats that program was designed for don't exist anymore. And the very thing that protected you then is now the thing that's limiting you now. It's time to update the operating system. Here's what you've been waiting for. The actual protocols. The things you can do tonight, tomorrow morning, this week that will begin to flip your internal switch. These aren't theories. These are practices that work on the nervous system directly. They bypass the thinking mind, because the thinking mind isn't where the problem lives. Your wealth organ needs to hear that you're allowed. Not once, repeatedly, until the new message overwrites the old programming. Here's the neuroscience. Your brain strengthens whatever neural pathways get used most often. If your I'm not allowed pathway has been running for 40 years, it's a superhighway. The I'm allowed pathway is a dirt road. You build new highways through repetition, not understanding. Repetition. Your brain doesn't care if you believe what you're saying. It cares how often you say it. Here's how you do it. Look yourself in the eyes and say these words aloud. I give myself permission to receive. I'm allowed to have more than enough. Money flows to me because I am open to it. My capacity for wealth expands today. Don't whisper it. Say it like you mean it. Your subconscious responds to conviction, not volume, but volume creates conviction. Then do this. Place your hand on your chest, feel your heartbeat, and say, my body is safe to hold wealth. This part is crucial. Your body has to feel safe. If your body believes wealth is dangerous, it will sabotage every opportunity. We're rewiring safety into your system. Do this every single day for the next 30 days. Don't skip days. The repetition is what creates the new neural pathway. You're not just saying words, you're installing new software. Here's what you'll notice. The first few days it feels ridiculous. Your mind will argue. Your inner voice will say, this is stupid or this isn't working. That's the old programming fighting for survival. It doesn't want to die. Keep going. By day 7, something shifts. The words start landing differently. Your body begins to respond. By day 14, you'll catch yourself thinking differently throughout the day. The new pathway is forming. By day 30, the new pattern is installed. Not complete, but installed. The foundation is laid. This is the technique I mentioned from the Japanese merchant families. Modified for Western nervous systems, but preserving the core mechanism. Here's what it does. It directly activates your vagus nerve, which shifts your nervous system from sympathetic, fight or flight, to parasympathetic, rest and receive. You cannot receive in fight or flight. Your system is defending, not accepting. This breath flips the switch. Here's the protocol. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Place one hand on your chest, one on your belly. Inhale slowly through your nose for 6 seconds. Feel your belly expand first, then your chest. This is called diaphragmatic breathing. Most people breathe shallow into their chest, which keeps them in low-level stress. Deep belly breathing signals safety. Hold for 2 seconds at the top of the breath. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 seconds. Make the exhale longer than the inhale. This is the key. Longer exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system. You're telling your body we're safe, we can receive. As you exhale, mentally say, I receive. Do this for 5 minutes, 10 breaths. When you finish, sit for another minute with your eyes closed. Notice how your body feels, the relaxation, the openness, the absence of tension. This is the receiving state. This is what the wealthy feel as their baseline. Do this practice every morning after your permission statements, before any financial decision, before checking your bank account, before asking for a raise or setting a price. Anytime you notice your body tightening around money, you're training your nervous system to associate money with openness instead of tension. Over time, this becomes automatic. The wealthy aren't relaxed about money because they have more. They have more because they're relaxed about money. Your wealth organ has been trained to avoid all risk because your system learned to associate risk with death. Not literal death, but nervous system level threat. To reactivate it, you have to teach your system that risk is survivable. You do this through small, controlled exposures. This is called stress inoculation. It's the same principle used to train special forces operators, first responders, and astronauts. Small doses of controlled stress build tolerance. Tolerance builds capacity. Capacity builds performance. Every single day, take one small risk. Not reckless, small. Here's how this shows up in real life. Ask for a discount you normally wouldn't, at a store, at a restaurant, anywhere. Not because you need the discount, but because you're teaching your nervous system that asking doesn't hurt you. Send that email you've been putting off. The one that feels uncomfortable. The one where rejection is possible. Hit send anyway. Your nervous system learns, I survived this. Apply for something you think you're not ready for. A job, a contract, a program. Something that scares you just a little. Your body needs proof that stretching isn't dangerous. Say no for the first time in places you've always said yes out of guilt, with your time, money, or energy. Watch what happens. Nothing bad, just freedom. And your system learns again. Buy something small without spiraling over the decision. Coffee, a book, a simple luxury. Decide in under 60 seconds and act. You're teaching your body that spending isn't a threat. Charge more than you normally would, even once. Raise your rate by 20%. See who still says yes, and realize you were underselling yourself the entire time. Have a casual conversation with a successful stranger about money, not begging for advice, just listening to how differently they think. Let your nervous system unlearn its fear of money conversations. Because the action doesn't matter, the pattern does. Your nervous system is hearing the same message over and over. I took a risk, and I survived. I took a risk, and I survived. I took a risk, and I survived. After 20, 30, 50 of these experiences, something shifts. Your hesitation starts shrinking. Your confidence stops being mental and becomes biological. You start moving before certainty shows up, because your body has learned that uncertainty isn't death. This isn't how you train the wealthy mind through affirmations. This is how you train the wealthy nervous system, with small acts of controlled bravery, until bravery becomes your baseline. And your body is not just a vehicle for your brain. Your body is running programs constantly, and those programs affect everything, including how much money you allow yourself to receive. The wealthy don't just think differently. They hold themselves differently. Most of us have been walking around in a scarcity posture, shoulders forward, chest collapsed, breathing shallow, taking up as little space as possible. And then we wonder why money doesn't flow toward us. Here's the practice. 3 times per day for 2 minutes each time, assume what I call the wealth posture. Stand tall, feet shoulder width apart, shoulders back and down, away from your ears. Chest lifted, like there's a string pulling from your sternum. Chin slightly raised. Arms away from your body, palms forward or resting on your hips. Breathe slow and deep. Then say, "This is how a wealthy man stands. This is my body now." Your nervous system doesn't know you're practicing. It thinks you're already in that state, because posture communicates identity to the nervous system faster than thought ever could. So your chemistry adjusts to match. Now here's the advanced practice. Hold this posture when you think about money. Most people collapse when financial stress hits. Their shoulders rise. Their breathing shortens. Their body contracts into protection mode. You're going to break that pattern. Every time you check your bank account. First, take 3 slow breaths. Assume the wealth posture. Relax your body. Then look. You're teaching your nervous system something crucial. Money doesn't mean danger. Money means calm. Money means safety. And when that association is rewired, money stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like what it was always meant to be, a natural part of your life. This one is deeper. This one takes more time, but it's the most powerful. Somewhere along the line, you fused your identity with your income. You started believing that your bank account measures your worth, that how much you earn reflects how much you matter. This fusion is the deepest wound, and it's what keeps the wealth organ locked. Because here's the paradox. When your worth depends on money, you can't receive money freely. Every financial fluctuation becomes an existential crisis. Every opportunity carries the weight of your entire self-image. The stakes are too high. The nervous system freezes. The wealthy have detached their identity from their income. They know that their value as a human being is not determined by their net worth. This allows them to take risks freely, receive freely, lose freely, and keep moving. Here's something fascinating. Studies of serial entrepreneurs show that they have remarkably stable self-esteem through both massive wins and massive losses. Their sense of self doesn't fluctuate with their bank account. They have detachment. Meanwhile, studies of financial anxiety show the opposite. Every market dip, every unexpected expense, every income fluctuation triggers an identity crisis, because the money and the self are welded together. Here's how you practice detachment. Every evening before sleep, say this: "My income is not my value. I am worthy whether I have money or not. I release the belief that my bank account measures my soul." Then sit with this question: if money disappeared tomorrow, who would I still be? Don't answer with your roles. Not husband, not mother, not employee. Go deeper. What remains when all the external markers are gone? That's your core. That's the part of you that exists before and beyond money. And that's the part that has to be secure before money can flow. Most people only use money in 2 ways: spend it and feel guilty, or save it and feel terrified to lose it. This ritual introduces a third, more powerful path: pure overflow. Here's how it works. Get a physical envelope. Not digital. Physical. Your nervous system responds more strongly to tactile reality than digital abstraction. Label it overflow. Every time you receive money, any amount, take 5 to 10% and place it in this envelope. Do not touch it. Do not save it for emergencies. Do not plan what it's for. Just let it build. Here's what you're doing. You're creating physical evidence that you have more than enough. You're teaching your subconscious that you're not in survival mode. You're in overflow mode. Most people's nervous systems believe every dollar is the last dollar. This envelope proves otherwise. As it grows, hold it periodically. Feel the weight. Say, "I am the kind of person who has more than enough. I am in overflow." Your nervous system will resist at first. It will want to spend the envelope on something important. It will tell you you're being irresponsible, that you need that money, that this is frivolous. That's the old programming fighting for survival. The envelope is proof that you're not controlled by it anymore. After a few months, the envelope effect takes hold. Your baseline feeling around money shifts. You stop operating from scarcity and start operating from expansion. Not because you're rich yet, because you've proven to yourself that overflow is possible. And once your nervous system believes overflow is possible, it starts creating more of it. This is the loop working in your favor. Let me explain what's happening under the hood so you understand why these practices are so effective. Your brain contains mirror neurons. These are cells that fire both when you do something and when you imagine doing something. To your nervous system, vivid imagination is nearly indistinguishable from reality. This is why athletes visualize. This is why trauma causes ongoing stress even when you're safe. Your brain reacts to mental rehearsal as if it were real. The permission repatterning technique uses this mechanism in your favor. When you declare permission with your body engaged, your mirror neurons fire, as if permission has been granted from outside. The message lands at the subconscious level. You're not pretending, you're installing. Your brain also runs on dopamine prediction systems. It tracks what you expect to happen and adjusts your emotional state accordingly. If you expect loss, your system prepares for loss. If you expect a return, your system prepares for return. The micro-risk protocol retrains your dopamine predictions. Every time you take a small risk and survive, your brain updates its model. Risk becomes associated with survival instead of death. After enough repetitions, your prediction system starts expecting positive outcomes, and your emotional state shifts to match. Your vagus nerve connects your brain and body and regulates your nervous system state. Slow breathing directly stimulates the vagus nerve and shifts you out of fight or flight into rest and receive. This is why the receiving breath works. You're not pretending to be calm. You're activating the biological mechanism that creates calm. And identity detachment works because it addresses the deepest layer, your survival programming. When your identity is fused with money, every financial event triggers existential threat. Detaching the identity short-circuits this response. Money becomes data instead of judgment. Opportunities become options instead of tests of your worth. These aren't mystical concepts dressed up in language. They're neurobiological realities. Your nervous system learned certain patterns. Your nervous system can learn new ones. You have far more control over your internal state than you were ever taught. The ancients knew this. They built practices around it. They understood that the inner world creates the outer world. Now, you have the science to back it up. And more importantly, you have the protocols to change it. Before I let you go, there's something you need to hear. This mechanism doesn't stay static. It's either growing or decaying. Every day, you either strengthen the wealth signal or weaken it. When you practice these techniques, you're building. When you skip them, you're eroding. When you fall back into old patterns, worry, hesitation, guilt, self-doubt, you're reinforcing the old wiring. The wealthy didn't become wealthy and then stop doing the internal work. They keep doing it. It becomes automatic. It becomes who they are. And the broke don't become broke all at once. It happens slowly. One skipped practice, one ignored opportunity, one returned to safety. And over years, the organ shuts down completely. Here's a study that should terrify you. Researchers tracked individuals who won moderate lottery amounts, between $50,000 and $150,000. Not life-changing money, but significant. Within 3 years, 82% were back to their pre-lottery financial baseline. Some were worse off. They didn't just lose the money, they returned to the set point. Why? Because they never changed their internal set point. The money shifted, but the organ stayed the same, and the organ always wins. It pulls your external reality back to match your internal programming. This is why you cannot win the money game through external means alone. You can budget, save, invest, hustle, but if your internal set point stays at struggle, you'll return to struggle. Every time. The only permanent solution is to change the set point itself, to rewire the organ, to raise your internal ceiling so your external reality has room to expand. You've been given the keys, but keys don't open doors. You have to use them. Here's what I want you to understand. The next 30 days will determine the next 30 years. The patterns you set now will compound. The practices you build now will become your default. There is no neutral. There is no maintenance. You're either activating or deactivating, growing or shrinking, opening or closing. The system wants you closed. The programming you inherited wants you small. The voices in your head want you safe, which means stuck. But you didn't watch this video by accident. Some part of you knew it was time. Some part of you is ready to flip the switch. Honor that part. It's wiser than your fear. Remember Paul, the logistics worker who did everything right and still ended up calculating every expense at 58. Let me tell you what happens next. Paul watches this video, or something like it. He recognizes himself, and something inside him cracks open. Not breaks, cracks open. He starts the permission practice the next morning. Feels ridiculous at first. Does it anyway. By day 4, something shifts. The tightness in his chest when he thinks about money loosens slightly. He starts the receiving breath. Before checking his bank account, he does 10 breaths. For the first time in decades, he looks at his balance without his stomach clenching. He starts taking micro risks, asks his supplier for better terms. Something he'd never done in 31 years. Gets them. Applies for a consulting gig on the side. Something he'd always thought was for smarter people. Gets the interview. He starts the wealth posture. 3 times a day, 2 minutes each. His wife asks why he's standing differently. He says he's working on something. He starts the overflow envelope. First month, it has $47. He holds it and says the words. His nervous system starts to believe something new. 2 years later, Paul has a side income he never imagined. Not because he got luckier, because he got internally larger. His container expanded. His organ came back online. 3 years later, Paul retires early. Not rich by magazine standards, but free. Free from the calculations, free from the tightness, free from the decades-old fear that had been running his financial life. Paul isn't special. Paul isn't uniquely gifted. Paul just decided to do the work. And that's all that separates him from the version of Paul who stays stuck forever. One decision, then action, then repetition. Here's what I want you to leave with. The wealthy are not smarter than you. They're not more deserving than you. They don't have access to secret information. They have simply been emotionally trained to receive. Their internal system says yes, while yours says wait. Their nervous system says safe, while yours says danger. Their wealth organ is online, while yours is buffering. Now you know. You know what it is. You know why it got switched off. You know how to turn it back on. The only question left is, will you? I'm not going to pretend it's easy. It's not. You'll forget. You'll fall back. You'll have days where the old patterns feel stronger than the new ones. But every time you practice, you're building. Every permission you grant yourself rewires the circuit. Every small risk compounds into larger capacity. And one day you'll look back at this moment as the turning point, the day you stopped hoping and started activating. So here's what I want you to do right now. Comment below with one word. Activate. Not because it's magic, because declaration creates commitment. Your brain registers what you say publicly differently than what you keep private. Say it. Lock it in. Let your nervous system hear you claim it. Then start tonight. One permission statement, one slow breath, one small risk. That's all it takes to begin. Your wealth organ has been waiting. You were born with it. It never left. It just went dormant. Time to wake it up. Thank you for your time. Until the next one.